Welcome back, my fellow heavyweight boxing fans, and this is part 2 of my coverage for the heavyweight division for all belts of the world. As you may have seen, I've done my first video last year, which thankfully did very well, and thank you everyone who's watched that and liked it and engaged with the video. I really appreciate it, guys. So this one obviously is now the follow-up to that, because a lot has changed in the world because of COVID and whatnot, and that's obviously delayed a lot of fights from happening, and there's been some changes within each different division, because different athletes have fought and others are now vacating and not going to the fights they originally planned for. So obviously, as we know with Fury and AJ, they have finally signed a 2-fight deal. I don't know why it's not a trilogy. Most likely it's going to be decided after the second what will happen, obviously, if it does become 1-1 to both of them. But we don't know yet. There's still a lot of negotiations going down, and Eddie Hearn's doing his little gay tour around the world to find the best spot. But we all know, let's face it, he's going to go for the Middle East, because they're always the big payers. They like to get everyone there, and they pay the most money. And at the end of the day, in this sport, money talks. It's a 200 million mega fight deal, and there's going to be a 50-50 split for the first fight. And the winner will take the larger 60% share of the rematch. Now, Fury's been doing a lot of mind games recently. You may have seen in some of his posts that he's saying he's drinking loads of pints a day, not training, getting fat and just basically not giving a shit about training and whatnot. But that's not true. He looks pretty lean. Obviously, there are two photos shown there in the white top. From one angle, he looks very lean. The other, he still looks a bit chubby. But nonetheless, the guy is training. He's just doing his usual thing. He's playing mind games and he's trying to get into AJ's head. But with regards to Fury, I'm not going to comment today on my predictions for the two of them. This is not a prediction video. I'm just giving you updates as to what's happening in the heavyweight world with these two and everyone else around them in the sport. And but I do believe that, from what I've done in my research, that this is going to be the first time someone has had the opportunity to become the first undisputed since Lennox Lewis in the early 2000s. So it's a big deal for Fury, and obviously he has said that he wants to retire after this. But if he did win, I can't see that happening, because he loves the sport so much and it's all he's ever had. So it'll be interesting to see if he did win, what he would do after that, especially if such a great achievement for being undisputed. That'd be absolutely amazing. And if you're reading the subtitles from this interview with AJ recently for JD, he's actually saying he's looking past the fight with Fury. It's this, the road to undisputed is part of the journey, and he believes there's a lot more after him for that. So he's definitely not tapping out after the fight, no matter what happens. So that's pretty cool. Obviously he's not thinking about hanging up his gloves. But whether he wins or loses, why should he? He's still at the top of his game. Athletically, physically, mentally, he's still very strong. He's definitely got more years in the tank. And as we know, some of these boxers go way into their late 30s, early 40s, and he's only like 31, 32. So there's plenty of time for AJ, just as is Fury. But Fury, I will say, from my analysis of him as a person, I think he's definitely more of a family man, and probably gets more and more pressure from Paris to settle down and stop, just get the money and chill. And if he's going to get 100 million, even just for one fight, he's set for life. And AJ's obviously a bit more fresh. His last fight with Pulev was only a couple of months ago, and as you can see here in this photo with Mayweather, who was actually at the fight. He actually wants to back AJ and help him with his preparations and training and whatnot for the upcoming fight. So obviously he's got some pretty impressive credentials on his side there, so fair play to him there. Obviously Fury has not had a fight in over a year, so he's a lot more rusty. But we know from his previous comeback, time away from the ring from him, training and things like that, does not necessarily mean he's going to perform in any way that we wouldn't expect. The guy's a naturally born fighter and very gifted. And even if he puts on the pounds and goes through various ups and downs in his life, particularly with drugs and alcohol, he can still come back fighting. So 1 year, I don't think it's too long, but I will say AJ's got that slight bit of edge on him. Obviously with Pulev, it wasn't a difficult fight for him. We all saw what happened there, but he's definitely more fresh and ready for that, and hasn't really stopped training since then. The first fight's set for the summer, June or July, so obviously we're waiting for an announcement on that. Obviously it wouldn't really be very practical to be in the Middle East because it's very hot, but like I said before, the money talks, so that's probably going to happen anyway. But I obviously want to see it in the UK like everyone else does. This is the domestic bout, so we'll get back to those guys after. So with regards to the next chaps I want to talk about, so obviously you've got Joe Joyce, aka the Juggernaut, the British boxer. Obviously last year he handed Daniel Dubois his first ever defeat in the domestic bout, and he's tipped to go against Usyk now. And as we know, Usyk beat Derek Chisora last Halloween, actually last October, in his first heavyweight fight. And obviously it wasn't a difficult fight for him really. Chisora's probably past it now, but it was, you know, he won on points. Obviously he played a tactical game. Usyk didn't really hurt him, but nonetheless he still did well because he's been in the cruiserweight level for a while. So, and we know Usyk's a great boxer. Is he gonna eventually go back to challenge Joshua? We'll see. More I gather, the negotiations are looking good still, and the fight should happen anytime this month. So just waiting for an announcement now. Obviously that's April 2021, by the way, guys. And apparently the winner will get the WBO challenge, the challenge opportunity there. And obviously, initially there was concern that Usyk wouldn't allow Joshua to do that. He'd challenge him as the, you know, he has the right to do that within that division, but he didn't do that, and obviously he's allowed Fury and AJ to go ahead. So I'm sure if he does beat Joyce, he's going to want to have that challenge then, because he's already said once, I'm happy to step aside. But would he step aside twice? I don't think so. Now, Joyce, 35 now, he actually lost on points to the Ukrainian in the World Series of Boxing 8 years ago. But he's come a long way since then, you know, and he's definitely a different boxer. You know, he's a lot more powerful, you know, his general boxing acumen, just everything that comes from time and experience in the ring and training and the sport itself has come a long way. And I think that he stands a good chance against Usyk, and I think it'd be a very good matchup, and I would love to see that. And I'm hoping that we're going to get announced anytime soon. If we do, I will post on my social media, guys, on Instagram or not, to let you know what's happening, and I'll probably do a pre-fight analysis on those ones as well. If you're interested in me doing that, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll get a video set on that one. Next up, the following heavyweight rise and fall, shall we say, of Wilder and Ruiz. And as we know, both of them have beaten AJ and Fury once. So it's 1-1 apiece, actually, for all fighters, and all deserve a trilogy fight. And as we know, nothing was agreed with Wilder. However, Andy has expressed his interest in having that trilogy fight with AJ. But for now, how it's looking for him, the Mexican-American, obviously he's been out the ring for 17 months. He's more than likely going to face off Chris Arreola first, aka the Nightmare, and that's going to be happening on May the 1st, by the way. Now, a couple of facts about Chris. He's actually challenged for the WBC 3 times, and his last fight was in 2016 against Wilder, where Wilder obviously won and managed to retain the title. His professional record stands at 47 fights, 38 wins, 33 of them are by KO, 6 losses and 1 draw. Andy, you know, he's, since obviously losing to AJ the second time, he's dropped from 283 pounds to 258. He's now guided under Eddie Reynoso, dropping a lot of weight, looking really healthy, really trim. And he realises that to take things seriously, he needs to be in shape. And if he makes good on his promise, a third fight could come into view. You know, likely, like I said, it's going to be after Chris, could be with Wilder, or also Dillian Whyte. So that would be very interesting before he gets potential chance against AJ again. And I don't know about you guys, but I would love to see a trimmed up, fit and properly prepared Andy Ruiz go up against AJ for that trilogy fight. Because he's a great boxer and obviously stunned the world the first time. There's no reason why he can't do it the second time, or sorry, the third time, once he comes into proper shape. And it'd be very interesting to see what happens with Chris. So good luck, Andy, and we'll see what happens for you in the next couple of months after your May the 1st fight. So now on to the Bronze Bomber, aka Deontay Wilder. Now, Wilder, just like Andy, hasn't actually had a fight for quite some time. His last one being the loss against Fury for the second time. And apparently, in November or December of this year, he's actually going to have a fight with Ruiz, from what I've been told. And that will give the winner a chance at the world titles again. But until then, he has 2 options for his first opponents. And the first one's looking like it's going to be Charles Lee Martin, the American 34-year-old who once held the IBF heavyweight title from January to April 2016. His 85-day reign, by the way, was the second shortest in heavyweight boxing history, second to that of Tony Tucker's. So his record stands at 31 fights, 28 wins, 25 of them by KO, 2 losses and 1 draw. So not bad stats at all. He's obviously been against Wilder before, so this will be an interesting matchup if it does happen. But at the moment, it's speculative. There's no confirmed details on that. So he's the first potential opponent that Deontay Wilder will be taking on after he's lost to Fury for Fury versus Wilder 2. The second option could be potentially Robert Gabriel Helenius. I hope I've pronounced that correctly, aka the Nordic Nightmare. This is the 37-year-old Finnish professional boxer who was born in Stockholm, Sweden, with a professional record of 30 wins, 19 by KO and 3 losses, 2 by KO. So he once held the European heavyweight title twice, actually, between 2011 and 2016, and he is ranked at present, I believe, 10th heavyweight in the world. And you can see here he has actually met and sparred with AJ before, as he has with Kubrat Pulev as well, and he would potentially be able to fight a rival for the WBA belt, which AJ still holds. So we'll see what happens there. I don't think it will happen. Personally, I think it's going to be more than likely Charles, but we'll see. This quick clip here, by the way, guys, I'm showing this because this is where Wilder pulled out AJ live on TV, and as we know, AJ's never turned down a fight from him, so it was a bit embarrassing to us and a bit stupid. But irregardless, that's a fight that could happen in the future. It obviously all matters on how Wilder goes in his next couple of fights. Obviously, he needs to fight at least one of the guys I mentioned, and then Ruiz before he even gets a chance. So we'll see if he gets a redemption. Another person who's called him out very recently, actually, just after his second rematch with Povetkin, is the body snatcher, aka Dillian Whyte, and he's very publicly said that he wants to have a go at Wilder. Now, Dillian was under a lot of pressure from last year's devastating knockout to the Russian, but obviously he's regained his status now as the WBC interim champion with his 4th round stoppage win, and as a result, he's more than likely now to be the first in line against AJ and Fury rather than Wilder and Ruiz. So the Brixton fighter has every chance to do that, and I really hope he will get that fight because he deserves it. Whyte has also gone to say as well that he doesn't really rate Usyk and feels that he didn't really hurt Chisora, and doesn't think that, well, he doesn't think he's going to fight him. He feels like it's more likely it will be against Ruiz for Usyk rather than him. He wants that fight with Fury and AJ, the winner, and obviously, like I mentioned before, with Wilder. Interesting though, Wilder in the past, when Whyte DM'd him, he said he's not interested and he's never going to get that fight, and now he's called him up asking for that fight. So it's funny how it goes when you're down and when you're up as to how you entertain different fighters. But back obviously quickly to Eddie Hearn, as I mentioned, the fight is likely to be in Saudi Arabia, but there's obviously interest from lots of different broadcasters, lots of different countries. Could be Singapore, could be the UK. No one really knows at the moment. China even, but we're obviously hoping for Wembley Stadium because it's a domestic battle for the unification of all belts. And let's face it, who wants to see it in the Middle East or anywhere like that? They want to see it. We want to see it in the UK, and it needs to happen. So please make it happen, Eddie. Obviously, because of COVID, there's every chance the UK might put up the borders and say it can't happen here and it will have to go overseas. Fingers crossed it's not going to happen, and we'll have a nice summer of sport in the UK alongside other big boxing fights in other countries to watch, because it's going to be a great year for boxing because things are finally starting to reopen in some countries, at least here in the UK, and we're starting to ease the restrictions and hopefully have some good sports on separate to boxing. But anyway, guys, hope you liked today's video. If you did, as always, please remember to leave me a like, comment and subscribe. Also, check out the other video I made. I'm going to put a link on the end of this video for you to check for the one I made last year. Also, let me know in the comment section below what you think about each potential or upcoming fight with each boxers that I've listed here. But anyway, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Take care, and I'll see you soon. I'm Miguel Finis, signing out.